Hey guys, it's Scott with Scotty B Cards. In this episode, I have a new video series I'm calling Investment Highlights. What I'm going to be doing in these videos is looking at a player's statistics, their cards, and talking about whether they're a good or bad investment at the current time. Okay, so this week we're going to be focusing on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He has been all the rage in Major League Baseball. Him and Shohei Ohtani are dueling it out for MVP. Right now I think that's probably leaning more towards Ohtani because he's hitting really, really well. Almost as good as Vlad, not quite as good, but really close, and he's pitching like under a 2.5 ERA. It's hard to argue with that. But I still think Vlad has a real chance at MVP this year depending on how Shohei performs and how he holds up. So let's look at Vladimir Guerrero Jr. This is his baseball reference page, and this year has been a thing of beauty for him. So let's just look at the traditional stats right here. You can see he's leading the league in hits, home runs, RBI, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS, OPS plus, and total bases. Intentional walks as well, which only at 5 isn't huge. But regardless, that's pretty insane. The Blue Jays are playing in a different ballpark. Usually they play in Rogers Center. Right now they're playing in Buffalo. That's where they're actually playing the AAA stadium. And as well, they started in Dunedin. They played there in TD Ballpark in the springtime until June 1st. They went over to Buffalo. So we can see he's on pace for some pretty good numbers, but there are some pretty scary things behind those numbers. Before we get to those, let's just jump and look at his minor league stats. So his minor league stats are always impressive. Here they are right here. He had a .331 batting average, on-base percentage above 400, slugging over 500, always had an OPS in the mid-900s. That's amazing. That is something that you want to see in a player, and it shows plate discipline. If you look at his strikeouts to walks, I'm assuming, yeah, he walked more than he struck out. When he got to the big leagues, we'll go back over to his big league stats. You can see in the first 2 years, he wasn't necessarily super impressive. He wasn't bad. He was still an awesome player. He was, 109 OPS plus, meaning he was 9% better than league average. And he struck out a ton. And on top of that, his batting average was low. Overall, he was having an okay year. In that 183 games, about 24 home runs. But then we look at this year's statistics. This year's statistics are crazy. In just 75 games, he has more than doubled his career home runs with 26. And same with RBI. He matched basically 123 games worth in 75 games. He'll easily get more. Right now, he's on pace for an 8.5 WAR season, 54 home runs, and 132 RBI. The thing that I think is very worrisome about these numbers are his actual home road splits, and I'll explain why. If we scroll down and look at his home and away for the 2021 season, he's hitting .392 at home, .493 on base, .858 slugging with a .1351 OPS, versus on the road, still amazing, a .945 OPS, but that's a 400-point difference. And if we go look at the actual ballpark factors for 2021, you can see Dunedin, where he started this year, and Buffalo, where he went in June 1st. They are the two of the three most hitter-friendly ballparks in all of baseball. The Rogers Center, I'm sure we can go to 2019. That's the last year the Rogers Center was used. Here it is. It's about the 12th. It's in the middle of the pack. So the point is, I think some of his numbers are inflated simply because he has been playing in very hitter-friendly parks. Basically, Dunedin was more hitter-friendly by a lot than Coors. Buffalo is really similar to Coors. They're basically minor league stadiums, and they play like minor league stadiums. So that's one thing you need to consider when you're trying to invest in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is if you think his home road splits will be the same when he goes back to Canada. If you go look at his road home splits from 2019, he performed poorly in the Rogers Center. And I think that's where we're seeing the biggest increase in his offense. So let's go look at his home stats here. This wasn't over the course of a full season because he got called up halfway through. He had a .239 batting average at home versus his almost .400 batting average. That's basically a 170-point swing between where he's playing his home games now versus where he was in 2019. Granted, he could be a completely different player in 2019, but on the road, he was still a really good player. He was a .303 hitter with an .865 OPS. So it's something to be considerate of. I wouldn't say that he's going to be able to carry all this success with him to Canada, but I still think he'll be a very good ball player. He's showing that he can hit. If we look at his baseball savant, which measures all of his average exit velocity, max exit velocity, hard hit percentage per balls in play, expected WOBA, all that stuff, he is 99 percentile. K rate means that he's striking out less than other players. He's in the 79th percentile, which is really good. Even in sprint speed, he's very respectable at 49%. He does swing and miss quite a bit, but when he makes contact, you are getting a ton of awesome results. So that's something to me that shows his play is sustainable. It just probably won't play as big. I'd expect like a 30-point at-home batting average from .390 to .360 at least if he were to play in Canada at Rogers Center. So anyways, I just want to show that. Now let's take a look at his cards. So I just did a simple search before we started, and his cards are cheap. Right now, you can get some really good deals. You know, here's his real one autograph. It's not too expensive. There's another real one autograph right here that I think is crazy low, $400. If you get a Tatis, it's about $1,000, and Vlad is having just as good of a year as Tatis. Granted, Tatis is a premium position player, while Vlad is a first baseman, which is another thing to consider because he has about a -1 WAR defensively right now. He could be easily in the 5 range if he was a premium defender, if he could play well at first base. But on top of that, his cards are all there's just deals out there. Let's go look at his sold listings and just kind of see what we can find. All right, so here's his Topps Chrome autograph, PSA 10. The Tatis version of this goes for $3,000. It's about the half price of Tatis there. He's in a lot of products from 2019, and you can find good deals. This is at a 10 rookie autograph. It was a sticker from Holiday, but still a pretty cool set for only $300 and so forth. I do want to show one more thing as well, comparing him to some of the better players in baseball, the younger players in his category. Here he is on this graph by himself. Right now he is pop 3,940 for his no number short print, which is technically not his flagship rookie, but it's plentiful enough. I think it's probably considered his flagship rookie over his update flagship. I think this is a pretty good option. Right now, if we go look at the PSA pop report, there are 7,800 graded. So enough to say I think is plentiful enough. Let's pull up Tatis, Acuna, and Soto and see how they're looking. So if we pull up Tatis, we can see they're kind of inverted from each other, which is pretty crazy to think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going up during this market dip, while Tatis, who's having a fantastic season, is actually dropping. But one thing you'll notice is his pop. Right here, there's 14,000 PSA 10s for Fernando Tatis Jr. from 2019 Series 2. If that number was closer to this 4,000 mark where Vlad is, I think they would be much higher than where Vlad's at. Let's pull up Acuna. We're going to use not his bat down because it's a much more short printed card. We're going to use his actual flagship rookie. You can see right here, he's the purple graph. He was following Tatis really well. He kind of passed him right here when he was having that peak, and now he's below both of them. And let's look at Soto, who's had probably the most dramatic fall of everybody. Juan Soto is the red. He was really high, by far the highest, and now he's down here as well. So let's take a peek. This is all of the players. Green is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Blue is going to be Tatis, purple is Acuna, and red is Soto. And we're kind of getting an idea of where the players are all at. So overall, if you want to get into Vlad right now, this is a great card. If we scroll down and look at the pops again, 14,000, 18,000, 17,000, 3,940. I think it's definitely a good card to look at. Overall, I think Vlad is a very interesting case study. I'm excited to see what happens when he goes back to the Rogers Center next year, but overall, I think his numbers will still be elite. You can't really argue with Baseball Savant numbers because those are just based off of not any ballpark factors, but based off of his actual performance. I'm just interested to see how his numbers will perform in a new park, whether the ball will fly as well, or whether some of his home runs will be a few feet short in the warning track, which most of them aren't. He has some of the longest hit home runs in baseball. But overall, he's a good buy. I would look at Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and hopefully those are some cards that you think are good as well. If you are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. We post a ton of baseball content every single week, week in and week out. It will really help the channel grow, and I'd appreciate it. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next episode.